Hello there, welcome back to the booth here for the Team Series Championship. That's Luis Scott Vargas. You're fast. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, and it is our pleasure to bring you coverage here as we move into round number 2. This could easily be the decider, as we did have Team Genesis picking up that first round. If they can pick this one up, boom, it's over. They will be your Team Series champions here. And you can take a look at our feature match area to get a look at the heavy hitters that they brought to the table here in round number 2. Brad Nelson, Martin Müller, and Martin Dang on one side of the table. And they're squared off against Ken Yukihiro, Yuki, Ichikawa, and Kentaro, Yamamoto. We're going to start things off with Brad Nelson versus Ken Yukihiro. Brad is playing, well, one of the more straightforward style decks, red-white, in the format. On the other side of the table, it's red-green from Ken. And, you know, his deck's actually fairly straightforward as well. Looks like Cobbled Wings to kick things off for Ken, but Brad's off to a quick start himself. Is that a Frenzied Raptor there?
The turn 2 Frenzied Raptor that is a real nice start. And we're seeing a lot of aggression out of these Team Sealed decks. It's kind of interesting that normally when you go from draft to sealed, you see more controlling decks, more high-end, you know, more removal. But Team Sealed actually takes you right back into draft mode because you get to build 3 more focused decks.
Oh, Captain, my Captain. She has also arrived. Lannery Storm has hit the battlefield here. And it looks like Ken Yukihiro actually is going to trade off that Tishana's Wayfinder for Captain Lannery Storm here.
Well, that seems like a reasonable trade. From Brad's perspective, he wants to keep generating treasure, and I think that is what Ken is trying to prevent.
He's going to do that at the cost of damage here, and now he's just passing the turn back.
Well, unfortunately, stumbling on mana here, and you know, Ken not having access to red mana means that he's going to be in a lot of trouble. If Brad has any decent follow-up here, then Ken's going to be facing down 2 aggressive creatures at 12 life, and Brad certainly does.
Taking a look at Nelson's hand here.
Brad could play a turn 4 Suncrown Hunters. He's got the Kinjali's Collar and he's got the treasure. So turn 4 Suncrown Hunters is pretty tough to do in a red-white deck.
Yeah, that seems great for Brad. He would have to play Unclaimed Territory.
So Brad now deciding whether he wants to play Pterodon Knight or Suncrown Hunters. He's going to play one of the 2, clearly. Those are his 2 threats. And he's thinking, like, what would Ken play next turn? What kind of removal spells could he deal with? And Suncrown Hunters is just a much higher payoff.
Love it. Go all in here, especially given that it looks like Ken is missing half of his deck. At this point, Brad may be thinking blue for the other part. He doesn't know for sure.
Seeing Tishana's Wayfinder makes you think, yeah, this could be Merfolk, because blue-green and green-red are the 2 main combinations that you would see. And blue-green is a little more common. There's going to be more Merfolk decks.
Right. As it turns out, he is on green-red.
So,
black and blue-white.
As you can see right now, Brad is consulting with his teammates, seeing what colors the opposition is, because if he can identify another blue deck, then they can guess, well, maybe Ken is playing red-green, which actually could change how Brad's sideboards.
Super interesting stuff here as we're speculating in the booth. The players are speculating down on the floor. They do not have deck lists for this. In the meantime, Yukihiro is dead. He does draw a mountain, but he's not going to show it to Brad Nelson. And Ken doing a little goldfish in there, but it is not going to earn him the victory. That is game number 1 going in short order to Brad Nelson, who picks up that one for Team Genesis. So once again, his team already up around here. All they need to do is win this match and they will be your Team Series champions. We'll find out that and more after these messages.
Looking for a place to hang out and play Magic? Head to your local game store this and every Friday to play Friday Night Magic events. Get more info at magic.wizards.com/FNM. Looking for a challenge? Magic Online offers monthly limited and constructed events which lead to the yearly Magic Online Championship. Download Magic Online at mtgo.com and start earning the points you need to enter.
match here of the World Championship. We are in Team Series Championship mode here, as you see that beautiful trophy up for grabs a little later today. Team Series Champion, that's what these players are playing for. Now we're playing a best 2 out of 3. This match is the second one. Team Genesis having taken the first one from Team Musashi. And Musashi's up against it here. They're also down a game in the Brad Nelson versus Ken Yukihiro match as well, and they don't have a lot to give. If this round goes to Genesis, it's over. They will be your Team Series champions.
Unfortunately, taking a look at Martin Mueller's deck list, Hostage Taker, Jace, Vraska's Contempt, Dreamcaller, Siren. Yeah. If they have to win that match, then things could be tough.
Yeah, they must have arm wrestled for the rares down there, because he got all of them. We're going to pop in, though, on Martin Dang versus Kentaro Yamamoto. Kentaro's deck looking pretty good. He is straight up black-white, mainly vampires. Didn't see a single rare on his sheet here, but it looked deadly consistent with 2 Call to the Feast and 3 Anointed Deacon in here.
And this looked pretty good, except the fact that Martin had a very efficient turn here, being able to play Spike-tailed Ceratops and Pounce to take care of that Anointed Deacon or the Shining Aerosaur, means that Martin's going a long way towards stabilizing here.
He's going to take out the Anointed Deacon here. The Shining Aerosaur, yep, still able to get through in the air, but Dang is at 17 life, so he seems to have just trumped Yamamoto on the ground, and things actually turning around here for Martin Dang. It looks decent for him.
And that Priest of the Awakening Sun also has to have mitigated a lot of the damage that Kentaro's done over the course of this game.
Also, he's completed the combo here in his deck as well. Priest of the Awakening Sun can't actually get Awakening Sun's avatar for Martin Dang.
I have to imagine that that's a flavor victory of some
It has to be. If it's not, I don't know what is. In the meantime, though, he's just gone bigger. This is, of course, the downside to playing vampires, is that sometimes they fall prey to just simply bigger creatures.
And that's why you need cards like Anointed Deacon to really get that extra damage through, to really start chipping in. And wow, the fact that Martin Dang is revealing a 7-drop that is in fact not one of his, his Awakening Sun's avatars, revealing the Thundering Spineback, means that his deck just goes big. Colossal Dreadmoss, Spike-tailed Ceratops.
Yeah, Yamamoto tried to fight back with the dinosaur of his own with that Steadfast Armasaur, but it just looks small on this board. Thundering Spineback. Looks like Dang is a turn away from being able to cast it here, but that's the kind of card that can absolutely dominate the late part of the game and even just get you a win on the spot, thanks to its ability to pump up all your dinosaurs.
Yeah, Dang could actually just slam it here thanks to a Pillar of Origins hiding up there.
Oh yeah, he's actually playing 1 pillar, isn't he? It has to have named dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, he's going deep. He's got 7 and 8 drop dinos, so playing an accelerant there. He might want to play Pious Interdiction instead, but yeah, getting the 7 drop out there and starting and getting to attack seems like it would work out fairly well for him. He's got Colossal Dreadmaw, which is almost assuredly getting in regardless. Question is if he wants to get Spike-tailed Ceratops in there as well.
Looks like he's getting a little bit of help here as well from a teammate.
And the fact that Kentaro wasn't in a position to attack last turn, and that Martin now has a Pounce up as well, means that the initiative really is all on Martin's side.
Let's take a look at Martin's hand here. Oh boy, 2 removal spells in hand to go along with that 7-drop, so things looking very good for Martin Dang.
See him consulting with Brad Nelson again. This is a team event. Just Jam has been called.
Just Jam.
And then Kentaro does get to line up double blocks or triple blocks without fearing a trick, because Martin is tapped out. He did have to spend all his mana on the spine back, but remember that Colossal Dreadmaw is an 8/8 trample right now. Spike-tailed Ceratops is a 5/5. Kentaro can trade one of his Shining Aerosaur or Steadfast Allosaur for the Spike-tailed Ceratops. Martin will only be able to kill one of those, but that requires taking 8 damage, falling to a paltry 3 life.
Yeah, things really getting out of hand for Martin Dang here. The worst part of it, of course, for Yamamoto is that Dang not only has the board state currently dominated, but also has a really good long game plan lined up in case this doesn't work, and it looks like it's going to work anyway. So it's really just all coming out Martin Dang at this point. Having a little chat here with his teammate Martin Müller.
I don't know if Martin's adding anything strategically. He just wants to come over and watch Martin Dang destroy his opponent. Looks like that Colossal Dreadmaw is going to get taken out. It's going to be able to take out, looks like 3 of those creatures.
Yeah, he's put 8 toughness in front of it, it looks like.
Kentaro does get to gain a life, though, with his vampire token.
Well, he does have that going for him, but that's not going to be enough here. 5 damage, but I gain 1, says Kentaro. 3 creatures hit the bin. This is desperation time for Kentaro Yamamoto and Team Musashi. And a Bishop Soldier is certainly not going to get the job done. He may as well play it.
But at this point, Martin is just, crushing on life totals, crushing on card advantage, and crushing on the board.
Spells in hand too.
Yeah, and he could be activating the Thundering Spineback if he's got nothing better to do, making a 3/3 dinosaur that, of course, becomes a 4/4 thanks to the Spineback.
Yeah, it's become clear that this matchup is all about Martin surviving the early onslaught and getting to his much, much more powerful late game. And he has certainly done that here at a lofty 19 life as he closes in on this game 1 win.
So what the teammates are talking about now isn't how to win this game, it's how to win this game while showing the fewest cards. Yes. Which cards do you want to show the opponent? And you know you're winning when that's the discussion you're having.
Hear multiple languages being spoken.
These are the global nature of this team.
Indeed. And they're going to go for Pious Interdiction on the Steadfast Armasaur. You got to love the team aspect. Should I attack with this? No.
Yeah,
no.
That was a no, of course not.
Yeah. But, it is important to ask those questions as you go through, because you might miss something small. And that's another chump block from Yamamoto, who certainly only has 1 turn left in him, and that is going to do it. Martin Dang takes game 1 from Kentaro Yamamoto, and that means that Team Genesis is up a game and a game. The other one still going, it seems. And you can see that our players are shifting around in the feature match area as Ken Yukihiro patiently waits for Brad Nelson to return back to the seat.
Okay, guys, a good start. Thank you.
And we are underway here in game number 2. And looks like Ken mulliganed and put on the bottom.
Ken doesn't have any mountains.
What is going on? His deck refuses to produce a mountain for him. And once again, Brad has turned 2 Frenzied Raptor. Oh, a mountain off the top, though, for Ken Yukihiro means we might actually get a game out of this match.
Raptor hatching is pretty nice against red-white dinosaurs. Soaking up 4 points of damage here and then putting a 3/3 into play that can then trade for the Frenzied Raptor next turn.
I want to remind you, by the way, this is round 2 of our Team Series Championship Finals. And that we come into this one with Genesis up a round. Now, if Musashi were to win this round, we would move on to a 3rd tiebreaker round that would decide the champion. But if Genesis wins, it's over. This is an interesting one for Brad Nelson. He plays a 2nd copy of Frenzied Raptor. He does have 3 of them in his deck. And then he just passes the turn. That Raptor hatchling doing work here, apparently.
Brad opted not to kind of unlock the 3/3 by attacking into the Raptor hatchling and giving Ken a 3/3. And I think that the reasoning behind that is the Frenzied Raptor just trades for the 3/3. So you're not really making any progress, and by keeping the Raptor hatching at a 1/1, it opens the door for maybe a better attacks later. Or if Brad has something like Pious Interdiction, though I imagine that they put all of the copies of Pious Interdiction into Martin Dang's deck.
Yeah, could be.
And yeah, that looks accurate.
Well, we do see one reason why Brad wants to keep dinosaurs around on the battlefield. A Pterodon Knight, though, unfortunately for poor Pterodon Knight, it just got shot out of the sky. Yes. Unfriendly Fire takes it down, puts it into the graveyard. And Ken precariously sitting behind a Bonded Horncrest and a Raptor Hatchling. But it is doing a good job of holding off the forces here from Nelson, who would love to find himself a removal spell. If he can take out that Hatchling, all of a sudden the Bonded Horncrest couldn't block either. Well, that plan just went out the window. Ixali's Keeper. Thrash of Raptors was the play for Nelson last turn, but still no attacks. Uh-oh. Is that an Imperial Aerosaur there?
It is.
That's some business. How about we get the Raptors up in the air? That's an attack for 6. Bang!
And then Ken does have Pounce, which works pretty well with the Bonded Dino, but he's not able to take out Thrash Raptors. He's going to have to settle for taking out the Flyer.
Yeah, it would end up being a trade there. So he's going to go for the Imperial Aerosaur instead. Bonded Horncrest doing good work, though, for Ken, keeping the ground locked down thanks to its friends there.
Yeah, but like you mentioned before, Ken is in a precarious position. It feels like when you have Bonded Horncrest in play, you're very close to things just going quite wrong for you.
Sky Terror is going to be a consistent threat of damage here and very difficult for Green-Red to deal with outside of just straight up removing it, as it's incredibly hard to block. So Ken once again being pressured. Thrash of Raptors for Yukuhiro. Now, can Ken line up some type of attack at some point here? I mean, he does have a decent amount of power on the ground now, 10. Just with those 2 creatures.
The problem for Ken is that those Frenzied Raptors from Brad do a very good job on defense as well. It seems counterintuitive to say this, but cards with high power, low toughness actually end up being pretty good blockers, because the 4-2 can't attack all that well into 2-2s, but it does a pretty good job at blocking things like a 5-3. So we might see Ken want to get an attack going, but have trouble lining it up. Though the addition of a Haster, so Captain Lannery's Storm does in fact make that a little bit more palatable.
Right, Lannery's going to get right into the red zone as she does, along with the other 2 cards. And, well, they just pulled in the reinforcements here. Martin Dang has arrived on the scene.
This has the potential to turn out very poorly for Ken. He's not in a spot where he can really play around a ton, but Brad has Unfriendly Fire in hand, and Ken has Sure Strike.
Oh.
So if Brad does something like make the obvious block of Frenzied Raptor on Thrash of Raptors, Ken goes for Sure Strike, and Brad has the Unfriendly Fire to kill the Thrash in response, then it's going to be a huge swing.
You can see the teammates for Team Genesis watching on from the sidelines. Of course, they're not able to interact at this point, so all they can do is root on their friends and teammates, hoping to secure this Team Series championship for them. So they've done their job.
They certainly have. So the natural blocks here would be something like, if Brad wants to trade off and try to rely on the Sky Terror to finish the game, he can put Thrash of Raptors on Bonded Horncrest. He can put Frenzied Raptor on Thrash of Raptors, and he could even put the other Frenzied Raptor on Captain Lannery Storm. And that'll just trade everything off, leaving Brad with the Sky Terror and the Kinjali's Keeper against the Ixali's Keeper. And that's a pretty decent set of trades for Brad. It lets him keep Unfriendly Fire in hand, which I really like, because he is facing down an opponent with only 12 life and a Sky Terror, which is really, really hard to stop. I also like that if Brad trades off, then he's fine not trying to attack on the ground, and that Raptor hatchling just bounces on the Kinjali's collar as many times as Brad wants.
What do you think Yuki's saying to Ken?
Well,
they were laughing a minute ago.
They're probably they know they're in the hole right now. They know that their team's behind. They're down an entire match, and they're down games across these matches. So once you get into that mode, you feel pretty good about things, because you know that you're just going to do the best you can and just hope things work out.
Right. Brad almost made a block there, but has now pulled them back and is once again thinking about his options.
And this is a feature of course, team events is complicated combat steps sometimes take a slightly longer time to resolve than normal.
This is, of course, a critical moment in this match. Brad Nelson finds himself up a game here, but this is a big combat step, and this is a turning point where if this doesn't go well for Ken, this game has already not gone particularly well for him, and it could just spiral out of control for him. But if he ends up with a favorable situation here, it could get him right back in the game.
So these are pretty natural blocks. If Brad ends up going through with this, I think if I'm Ken, I'm very tempted to just use Sure Strike on Thrasher Raptors. You're going to get destroyed by Unfriendly Fire, but you know, as you mentioned, Ken, you know, has this game not going well for him, and when you're in that case, you just really have to go for it.
He actually went on it for the bonded Horncrest there, Luis, but he is in fact going for it, which does play around.
That does a good job playing on Unfriendly Fire. So Ken basically gives up the additional trample damage on Thrasher Raptors, but he makes it so his bonded Horncrest survives and plays around a trick. The thing is, for Brad, this is still just a 1-for-1. He traded Thrasher Raptors for a Sure Strike, and that's just not the end of the world. Note that Ixali's Keeper is going to be very relevant next turn. If Captain Lannery Storm gets another attack in, she generates another treasure. That's 8 mana during the middle of combat, and Ixali's Keeper then becomes active.
Brad does, of course, have the option to use his Unfriendly Fire here.
Take 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we can take 5.
Even though he doesn't have as juicy of a target as he may have. But he's just going to go ahead and let this happen.
15.
And he's just going to let the bonded Horncrest live as well.
Huh?
And if Brad didn't Unfriendly Fire Lannery Storm during combat, he's now narrowed it down to casting Unfriendly Fire on the Ixali's Keeper end of turn to prevent it from, you know, threatening to use its ability next turn. He could also just cast it on Ken Yukihiro's face directly, but that's not something you really want to do until you finish the game.
Right.
I have trouble imagining not being able to spend the mana here.
Yeah, and he is going to do that. So Unfriendly Fire on end step takes down the Ixali's Keeper and shuts off that line of play here for Ken Yukihiro. And we see Brad draw his card for the turn.
Looks like a Fire Cannon Blast to me, which
Yeah.
Brad's still just really declining to run Frenzied Raptor into the Raptor Hatchling there.
And that was, in fact, a Fire Cannon Blast, and that took down the bonded Horncrest thanks to Raid.
And this leaves Brad firmly ahead. All these cards trade off. The Fire Cannon Blast was a timely draw. Lannery Storm can trade for Frenzied Raptor, but that just leaves Brad with a Sky Terror and a pretty significant life total advantage alongside his own Captain Lannery Storm in hand. So it's possible that Brad even starts attacking with her, though that Raptor Hatchling has pretty much shut down Brad's ground offense this entire game.
Yeah, it's funny. The Hatchling has done kind of nothing and done a lot of work at the same time. It has yet to attack or block, yet it has dissuaded Nelson from attacking with his Frenzied Raptors that he had as early as turn 2.
So even though, yes, Raptor Hatchling hasn't entered combat at any point in this entire game, it's had a dramatic effect on the game in terms of how it's impacted Brad's attacks.
Yes, its bark much louder than its bite, as it turns out. Nelson continues to chip away in the air, and you can see Ken Yukihiro is now down to 8 life and still facing a Sky Terror that's going to take a minimum to 6 here.
Sky Terror, of course, impossible to block at any point.
Right.
I don't think that card's ever been allowed to be blocked.
No. It may as well just say unblockable on it. Flying and Menace. Very difficult to put 2 flyers up.
It's a pretty nice card. Actually, I assume a sideboard card. Elaborate Fire Cannon here. Did come out of the sideboard against Red-White, and
You know,
this is the situation you wanted. This actually
this is good.
This actually goes a long way for Ken because it takes down the Sky Terror, and Ken has 2 lands in hand, which he's been holding cleverly, can then start chipping out at Frenzied Raptor. The Thrasher Raptor is going to get a few points of damage through, though.
Now, he'd like to main phase this, right?
He can. One of the advantages to main phasing it is it plays around Brad having or drawing a trick.
Yeah, Vampire Zeal along those lines.
One of the reasons not to main phase it is that it might be not possible for Ken to beat a trick anyway, so he might as well assume Brad doesn't have the trick and leave it up so in case Brad draws something like Swashbuckling.
Yeah, but it does look like at 6 life he can beat a trick, right?
It's possible, not with the Thrash of Raptors in play, or at least it becomes much harder. For example, if Brad attacks with everything and has Vampire Zeal with Thrash Raptors, that looks just about lethal.
Yeah, that is plenty enough. If it was only the flyer, he might be able to, but yeah, a big trampler really changes that. So we'll see what Ken ends up deciding here, but not looking good for Ken Yukihiro as Team Genesis and Brad Nelson. And still a commanding position even after the elaborate fire cannon came down. A slow but effective sideboard card.
Musashi discussing what Ken should play on. Probably the same discussion we just had a second ago.
Yeah, but like you said, Luis, that 5-3 trample really wears the combat trick well and makes it so that they're not going to beat one either way. So they're going to have to go for the highest upside play, the riskiest.
So right now, the Genesis is looking at how Ken might trade off here, and those blocks actually look fairly forced. If you use the Fire Cannon on Sky Terror, you don't block Thrash Raptors because it has Trample, and then you have Captain Lannery Storm and Raptor Hatchling kind of block the other 2 ground creatures Brad has in play, the Frenzied Raptor and his own Lannery Storm. Ken falls to 1 then and needs to draw something pretty good to get out of this game.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Brad just got the green light. Everything in the red zone. Lannery Storm, the Frenzied Raptor, Sky Terror, and the Thrash of Raptors all in. They had lined up what their presumed blocks were ahead of time, and they liked it. That is lethal.
Yes, yes.
They're going to use the elaborate fire cannon on Sky Terror to knock it out.
Go to 1.
But it's still a lot of damage. You heard Brad Nelson go to 1?
Ken does get a beast token thanks to that Raptor Hatchling, but basically Ken needs to draw something that is big enough to soak up the trample damage from Thrasher Raptors. That is what he's looking for here. And given that he's a red-green dinosaurs deck, you know, that is well within his range, but he's got 1 turn to do it.
That was a colossal Dreadmaw, I believe, off.
Oh yeah, that will do it. That'll keep Ken alive, and he's got an elaborate fire cannon in place, so he gets a slight edge because of that.
Oh.
But he's at 1.
Can Brad find a way to get in this last point of damage?
Is that good?
Looks like a Suncrown Hunters is gonna pretty much put the question to Ken, like, how do you deal with a 5/4 without dealing damage?
Oh man, Suncrown Hunters. Brad says, "Is that good?" And it looks good, like you said. What the heck can Ken even do?
Your card.
And that is going to do it. Brad Nelson wins the match, 2 games, 2-0. And we could be on the precipice of our first Team Series champion winning here as Team Genesis dangerously close at this point. Martin Dang's up a game in his match. And it looks like we're going to go down to Martin Müller and Yuki Ichikawa. And it seems that Yuki Ichikawa's up a game here.
So Musashi's not going down without a fight, but they are certainly on the back foot here.
Yuki's deck is blue-black Pirates. He's got a pair of Pirates Cutlass. And he also has some nice tempo plays to help push through damage in the late part of the game. He's got a Tempest Caller. He also has a Fell Flagship in his list as well.
The natural curve here.
Yeah, he's also got 2 Water Trap Weaver. Yeah, this is one of the better starts, Desperate Castaways, right into Pirate's Cutlass. It gets equipped automatically, and it satisfies a requirement there for the Castaways so that he can start jamming immediately. Yuki Ichikawa's Castaways trumping Martin Müller's at the moment, who don't have a Pirate's Cutlass. Wow, no play there for Müller. Again, well, Müller's on the all rares plan here.
Yeah, and Müller's going to be playing a Dreamcaller Siren here when Ichikawa goes to attack.
That's right, so that will be a nice tempo play here for Müller. The question is, can he seize the advantage back by taking away 1 combat step here from Yuki Ichikawa? It looks like it to me, especially if he can find an artifact. All right, well, that will put a damper on that. Vanquish the Weak sends the Dreamcaller Siren away, and that will continue the beat down there for Ichikawa starting next turn. Okay, a Dusk Legion Dreadnought is the play here for Martin Müller.
And flavorfully, the Desperate Castaways can in fact crew it.
Indeed.
they found the ship they were looking for.
Yeah, it's full of vampires in this case, but they'll take it. Martin Müller also has Hostage Taker, Jace, and Vraska's Contempt in this deck, in addition to the Siren that we saw a minute ago. So lots of power level in the deck for Martin Müller, but he is down a game and a bit behind on board with Deadeye Plunderers hitting the battlefield for Ichikawa, though, as we see no attack.
And so Martin is getting a little flooded here. You see his hand 3 land and a Siren's Ruse. Luckily, Siren's Ruse on Siren Lookout does work out pretty well. You get to draw a card because it is a pirate, and you get to explore again. So I think Müller might actually be pretty close to needing to just use this now to hope to draw a piece of action this turn.
Yep, he might as well get in for 1 with it first, and then he's just going to go ahead and main phase it, it looks like. That means that he's sure to resolve it, and maybe he could even find something that he could cast this turn.
Yeah, if he just passes now, he is guaranteed to, wasting at least 4 mana, and potentially more if he ends up not using it at all.
Right. Also, it does open the door for Ichikawa to interact, which could be bad. Draw a card, and then he's going to trigger Explore.
Rune Raider.
Is that a Rune Raider there?
It's a pretty nice addition to the board. Martin has a lot of life to play with, and currently is not being successfully attacked. So
somehow I missed a rare. He's got even more.
So that turn worked out pretty well for Martin. He found a Pirate's Cutlass off the draw from Siren's Ruse, and then he explored and saw a Rune Raider on top. So Martin has done a pretty good job of getting right back into this.
Uh-oh.
Though Tempest Caller makes that Rune Raider a lot less appealing because Ichikawa is going to get a ton of damage in here.
Yeah, this is a big hit here. And there was even a small follow-up player with the Heartstopper there. So things looking pretty good here for Yuki Ichikawa off the back of that tempo play with the Tempest Caller. He also has 2 copies of Water Trap Weaver in his deck. That could help him along the way. Let's take a look at his hand. Deadeye Quartermaster and his own copy of Siren's Ruse. I mentioned it at the front here, but he actually does have 2 Pirate's Cutlass in the deck. One's on the battlefield already, but he could dig out another.
And like you mentioned before, the Fell Flagship. So
yep.
Deadeye Quartermaster's got a well-stocked quarter.
So he could actually play it, get one, and then blink it, get another one, and just get everything out of his deck?
Yeah, Siren's Ruse does go a long way when you have cool enter the battlefield abilities.
In the meantime, though, both players keep attacking. Ichikawa's down to 9, Müller's down to 8.
All right, this is going to be a big flip off Rune Raider here.
Yes,
I love
it is. So Raid has been triggered. He's going to reveal the top card of his library. He's going to draw it, but he's going to also lose life equal to its converted mana cost. With Müller at 8,
Vraska's Contempt.
So that's 4.
You get 2 back, though. You get a rebate.
And he does.
Wow, Müller feels so good about his decision not to move Pirate's Cutlass. if he had moved Pirate's Cutlass, he would not be able to cast Vraska's Contempt right now. And hitting the Vraska's Contempt and getting to cast it, looks like on the Deadeye Plunders is going to give him a pretty good board position.
Yeah, he is going to go back up to 6. And you notice here, he's still in his end step. He wanted to make sure the Plunderers left. And while Yuki Ichikawa was tapped out, he cast that Vraska's Contempt. That's a smart play, something that a lot of players will overlook.
So currently the Dusk Legion Dreadnought is doing a very good job of stopping Yuki from attacking, and the Siren Lookout is hitting Yuki in the air. So Martin not looking as bad as he could, especially once he's gotten Deadeye Plunders off the board. And Yuki is going to get to make a good play this turn, but he's got to kind of wait an additional turn before the impact of that is really seen.
Thinking about casting Prosperous Pirates, but the Skittering Heartstopper, of course, they want to make sure that they have the black mana available. So Pirates gives them 2 treasures, so they can do that.
And also, the Dusk Legion Dreadnought, it can threaten to attack for a lot of damage, but if Yuki's able to not take damage this turn, he does have the win with Siren's Ruse on Tempest Caller to tap down Martin's entire team.
Of course.
So Yuki just wants to survive a turn, and by playing Prosperous Pirates and hitting 2 treasures, he's able to threaten to give Deadly to his
he can
Skitter
give
and Heartstopper.
Yeah.
He can block the Dusk Legion Dreadnought. It's going to give Martin incentive to only attack with the flyer, and then Yuki's just going to go for this.
Oh boy, this is going to be a flurry finish here in our middle table.
Martin really needs to find an instant speed of interaction.
He has plenty of it in his deck. He's got a Skymarch Bloodletter in hand. Does that change the race at all? Does he have 7 power? Yes, right? Easily. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He'll actually be able to attack for 8.
So what Yuki wants to do now is he wants to use Siren's Ruse on Martin's end step before the Ruin Raider resolves. He doesn't want Martin to draw another removal spell. This will do it unless Martin finds something very good. And at 7 life, facing down 4 different creatures, it's going to be really hard.
So he knows that Martin's going to draw an extra card. He doesn't want something that could kill Caller. And it's not. Chart the course, and he's going to go ahead and jam. And a great play there from Yuki Ichikawa to earn the match win for him. And that means we're all looking down the tables here as we've got Martin Dang against Kentaro Yamamoto. This could be the match that decides our champion. As we come in to this round, team on the right-hand side there, Team Genesis, they are up a round. And that means in a best 2 out of 3, if Martin Dang can win this game, or the next one if it comes to it, Team Genesis will be your Team Series champions. If Kentaro Yamamoto and his teammates, as you can see here, can pull 2 games in a row with his Black-White Vampires deck from Martin Dang, we will be going to a playoff. That would be round number 3.
I just want to see Awakening Sun's Avatar go big. I've actually just never seen that card get cast, so
there you go.
That would be awesome.
Okay, Queensbay Soldier is the start for Kentaro Yamamoto. That is the kind of thing that we're going to be looking for from him. He doesn't actually have any rares in his main deck that I saw, but he's got a lot of powerful cards for this Vampires deck, including 2 Call to the Feast and 3 Anointed Deacon.
Musashi had a lot of copies of Pirate's Cutlass.
Yeah, I know. Kentaro actually ended up with 2 copies himself.
They just ran four copies of Pirate's Cutlass and just getting in there.
Yep. It did seem a little bit better in Ichikawa's deck, but I mean, running more than 2, you're starting to get a little out of hand. So.
Chad points out that Martin Müller actually didn't win any matches of Limited this weekend.
Oh no!
And he did compete at Worlds.
So he played 6 heading in and then lost this one. Oh, that is a tough weekend for Martin.
Though he did go 6-2 in Constructed, so you know he had a very good standard record and pick up a good portion of pro points as a result.
So a productive weekend nonetheless, and he still could be standing on the stage as a Team Series champion here. It all rests on the shoulders of his friend Martin Dang here to win this game, or the next if it comes to it.
Yeah, Martin he gets an additional bonus game if he does lose this one.
Pillar of Origins once again on the battlefield for Dang. But a well-timed Pious Interdiction here from Kentaro Yamamoto means he's getting in a nice little attack here, 5 damage. And this has been a good start here for Kentaro. As you see, Martin Dang is already down to 9 and doesn't actually have a board state at the moment. Ooh, but you do see one of the downside to cards like Pious Interdiction. There's a Savage Stomp in hand for Martin Dang, and he can still use that.
And it's going to go quite well with this Ravenous Daggertooth, as he gets to put a ++1 counter on it, and he gets to enrage and gain 2 life. So Martin is going to do a good job stabilizing here.
They're currently having a discussion about which mana sources to tap. And that even prompts a laugh out of the other teams. Well, Martin Dang decides to take it into his own hands, I think. He said we already played it. We were over it. Savage Stomp. And that, of course, is going to net 2 life there for Martin Dang.
And that's going to leave the last card in Martin Dang's hand, besides it lands, as Sunbird's Invocation. So we'll see if he's got enough time to leverage that card advantage engine, if he's stabilized here. And wow, that Ravenous Dagger did a lot of work. Getting a full 4 life off double enrage triggers really helps when you're getting attacked by small creatures wielding a cutlass.
We see that Kentaro Yamamoto had his follow-up play lined up. A Bishop Soldier, he also paid the mana to equip the Pirate's Cutlass to it. But this is a big turn here for Martin Dang. Now things get interesting. This is the splashed Sunbird's Invocation, which this turn won't do much. But next turn we could see some fireworks if Martin can find some action, which I'll tell you what, he does not have.
Yeah, every draw step is so huge.
Yes.
Because of Sunbird's Invocation, every draw step, if it hits a spell, is essentially like hitting 2 spells.
Yes.
And Martin has, looks like just 1 turn to draw a spell here.
Oh, jeez. Doesn't get closer than this. Is that Anointed Deacon
It
as
is.
well? Okay. Hit you for a lot. 6 damage. Life total swinging towards Yamamoto. This is a big draw step. What did he hit? Ixalan's Binding.
So he gets to exile
That's
a card,
good.
and he gets to look at his top 4 cards.
Oh, that was a good draw for Martin Dang. He'll look at the top 4. He can cast one of them that costs 4 or less, and he can do it for free. Yeah, so right now Ixalan Binding is actually on the stack, 3 and 4. A Looming Altasaur is the card that he looks like he wants to see here. So pretty lucky he hit a 4 into a 4. That's where you want to be, and then he can resolve the Ixalan's Binding and decide what he wants to kill. He's going to go for the Deacon.
Yeah, that is the safest play. Anointed Deacon just offers a lot of threatening attacks later in the game, especially with cheap Vampire Flyers.
Speaking of, Yamamoto would love to find a cheap Vampire Flyer here. Well, he's going to attack, but this attack is not going to yield any damage, simply life gain here for Yamamoto. Oh, but he's got a Shining Aerosaur here, and no reach or anything on the other side right now.
Yamamoto's a land away from winning. If he draws a land, he can play second Pirate's Cutlass, move both Cutlasses to the Shining Aerosaur, and attack in for 7.
Oh, he didn't hit it. Oh, he was so close. 1 land away, but it looks like he drew an Emissary of Sunrise for the turn. Still, he's looking in good shape, because if you look at the hand here for Martin Dang, it's a pair of forests. He has nothing going on.
So Yamamoto has incentive to not move any of the Cutlasses in case he's worried about something like Leden's Judgment.
Of course.
What's unfortunate for Martin is Awakening Sun's Avatar would not kill the Shining Aerosaur.
No, it wouldn't, would it? Oh, it's insane. One of his best cards normally. The Emissary is going to reveal a Blight Keeper?
Blight Keeper's pretty nice when your opponent's at 2 and you have 6 lands in play.
No kidding. Not only that, it's a flyer. It also can pick up a Cutlass, and its ability can kill your opponent, so really good.
He just drew it. He just drew the Awakening Sun's Avatar.
No. Did he really? He did. He drew Awakening Sun's Avatar, and it's no good here. Now,
well,
it does trigger the Sunbird's.
It lets him look at 8 cards with Sunbird's Invocation, and Martin Dang has a number of cards he can hit that would get him out of this.
Oh, this is going to be this is going to be a real sweat for Martin, and Brad here. 8 cards into his library. He has to find something.
Well,
It also will wipe out the emissary and the bishop, right?
It'll take out all the non-dinosaur creatures.
Wow, how did you call that, by the way?
Well, I just think of the best card to draw at every point. That's generally how I
And then play
live my
accordingly.
life.
Yeah, it's worked out well for you. Oh man, we get to see a lot of cards revealed. The Japanese team has to just be like, are you serious right now? 8? All right, here's the big trigger. They need a way to deal with the Shining Aerosaur, or they're going to lose. 3, nope. Still nope. Still, there's a pounce.
Pounce will not do it.
Because the avatar's not on the battlefield yet, and they must have not had anything big enough to get the job done.
Black-tailed Ceratops, that was it.
Wow, so moving that Pirate's Cutlass actually ended up really good there for Yamamoto, didn't it?
Had he not moved the Pirate's Cutlass, he would not have won.
No, he would have gotten that Shining Aerosaur shot out of the sky by a Pounce and a Ceratops. Wow, they missed off of 8. I still can't believe it. Alright, well, we are moving ever closer to what could be a tiebreaker match between the two teams. We've got Kentaro Yamamoto and Martin Deg tied at a game apiece. Prior to this, in our team final B here, we had Brad Nelson win his match against Ken Yukihiro. We had Yuki Ichikawa win his match against Martin Müller. Both of those were 2-0. And now, I can tell you what, every Japanese Magic fan on the planet has their eyes glued to the screen saying, in Kentaro Yamamoto we trust, because it is all lying on his shoulders. He has to win this game to force the tiebreaker match. If Martin Dang can win this, Team Genesis are your Team Series champions. Kentaro Yamamoto is trying to win this match just to give Musashi a chance. They still have work to do. They still have to win another round after.
Kentaro's playing for the privilege of getting to play again.
Right.
You have Yuya and Shota. They just know that they are not going to get to play again. Here's the A squad. They're in a spectator mode because they lost that round. Even if they go to the tiebreakers, these 3 that you now see on screen will be the ones playing.
By the way, they look pretty chill.
Well, once the fate's out of your hands, like once you can't change the outcome, like you might as well just relax and just see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but like when I watch one of my favorite sports teams, I can't do anything about it. I'm still screaming at the TV and jumping up and down. Like, take a look at the trophies there that are online. Of course, later on in the day, after we finish up the Team Series Championship, we will be moving over for the World Championship. We've got a stacked top 4 to bring you a little bit later on in the day from this beautiful venue here in Boston, Massachusetts. For those of you just joining us, we are down the line here on the Team Series Championship, and we've got a really nice game lined up. A lot of tension in the feature match area. You can see both teams huddled around their player because there's a lot on the line here.
Did you folks pick up your Ixalan's binding?
Yeah, we have it in there.
Okay, thanks so much. Thank you.
I was pretty sure I saw it.
Just double checking that they got their Ixalan's binding back.
So Martin Dang's deck is really looking to stretch to the late game. Awakening Sun's Avatar, Sunbird Invocation. These are some of the powerful cards that he can kind of use to win the longer games against Kentaro Yamamoto's Vampires deck. But Flyers plus Pirate's Cutlass plus potentially fast starts Yeah, that really can threaten what Dang does. And you saw, Queen's Base Soldier plus Pirate's Cutlass, not even the fastest curve, but it did enough damage alongside that Pious Interdiction that even though Martin got his engine rolling, you can't say you didn't when you cast Awakening Sun's Avatar with Sun Vertification in play.
Yeah.
Martin didn't have enough life to leverage those extra cards. Like, he got extra cards off that, but he was just dead in an extra attack, and that kind of negated the advantage he got.
That's right. Yeah, this is two very different decks. What is Brad up to over there? What are they doing?
They don't want to see their opening hands.
Oh, they can't look? All right. Looks like the players are ready to draw their opening hands for this last game.
An ideal hand for Yamamoto.
His deck, no rares. He's playing a low to the ground black-white Vampires deck with good cards, and this is a mulligan for Martin Dang. His deck is more likely to mulligan. He has a much higher mana curve, he's also splashing a little bit, just one red card.
3 2-drops and a 3-drop plus 3 lands for Kentaro Yamamoto.
You can see he's got everything lined up, all of his colors.
What Kentaro is missing is a way to punch through, because right now he's got a 2-2, a 2-2, a 1-3, a 2-2. These cards are just not going to be big enough if Martin plays a good blocker, but one Pirate's Cutlass or Pious Interdiction later, and that's a completely different story.
You take a look at Kentaro Yamamoto. He always looks so stoic. I wonder what's going through his head right now. Lots of pressure as he has his 2 teammates flanking him, as well as his 3 other teammates just off camera. Now, they're not able to help for this portion, so they're chatting with friends back home on their phones, but you know that they're watching the screens as well. Okay, let's see if we've got a keep for Martin Dang. I saw 2 forests and no other lands. Oh, but he sees planes on the top of his library.
Oh, and that Priest of the Awakening Sun is going to go a long way.
Yes.
Gaining 2 a turn is really going to blunt the attacks that Kentaro's trying to assemble here.
That's right. Basically 1 attack per. So there's Priest of the Awakening Sun for Martin. No answer for it at the moment for Kentaro Yamamoto. So he's just going to lead off with Queen's Base Soldier. And there's a Colossal Dreadmaw. And so we're going to see every upkeep 2 life for Martin Dang, and that could buy him a lot of time versus especially the type of draw that Kentaro Yamamoto has here. Wow. Ravenous Daggertooth too. So the shields, they are up for Martin Dang.
And he's got Atsukan Archer in hand, which won't pick anything off given Kentaro's current hand, but a 1-4 reach actually, this does exactly what I was talking about. It blocks all of Kentaro's creatures. Kentaro is going to need something else to get through for damage.
That's right. He's relying on cards like this. So this is a good start for him, a Skymarsh Bloodletter, or, as we talked about before, the 2 copies of Pirate's Cutlass also can get him in for damage through these blockers. And I like this, Martin Dang taking it to Kentaro. He knows he's not going to block here.
Deshaun's Wayfinder does mean that Martin has a higher chance of hitting his next land drop.
Ooh, he didn't hit it here, but you know what? A 3-3 on the ground versus a Queen's Base Soldier looks quite nice as well. Kinjali's Collar is going to hit the graveyard for Dang as he passes the turn back to Kentaro Yamamoto. Ooh, Anointed Deacon was the draw step for him. Now he can't cast it this turn, but the combination of Deacon plus the flying Bloodletter here, well, that could go a long way.
That is exactly the card he needs to punch through for damage.
And another flyer here as well, Skyblade of the Legion. The Bishop Soldier, not as hot here, but still 2 flyers plus potentially an Anointed Deacon next turn. Could be fireworks here for Kentaro Yamamoto as he patiently sets up his attack force. Martin Dang falling a little bit behind here, but not too bad. He is going to hit his land drop this turn as well, even though he didn't last turn.
And Martin's got some nice attacks here because one of the natural blocks could be Kentaro double blocking with 2 2-2s on the Wayfinder, and Atsukan Archer can finish off the 2-1. But the Skyblade of the Legion does mean that it is more likely that Kentaro blocks a 2-2 plus the Skyblade on a 3-3, puts the other 2-2 on the Ravenous Daggertooth, and that that ends up just trading off a bunch of cards, and it isn't quite what Martin, I think, would be hoping for.
Just that.
Yeah, Yamamoto's hand looks quite nice here. He actually has a Shining Aerosaur as well. When you and I were talking about ways to push through damage, well, Flyers do a nice job of that, thank you very much.
This is going to work out nicely for Martin Dang.
Yeah. Trade that off, but he actually gets to just snipe this Queensbay soldier here with Atsukan Archer. Fight. No mana available for Yamamoto, so he just has to say, okay. So a little 2-for-1 there for Martin Dang as he passes the turn back. Ooh, and there's a Pirate's Cutlass off the top of the library for Yamamoto, who, by the way, does have his 5th land. He can choose between either of his 2 5-drops or cast and equip with the Cutlass.
Yeah, Deacon lets him attack immediately with the Bloodletter past the Atsukan Archer, so it's very tempting to play that. And then the fact that Martin has Pious Interdiction in hand doesn't actually do as much work as you might want, because it doesn't stop Anointed Deacon from triggering every turn. And Pirate's Cutlass gets around auras pretty well, because you can just move your equipment around based onto whatever isn't getting interdicted.
In the meantime, that Colossal Dreadmaw continues to gain life here as it gets revealed to the Priest of the Awakening Sun. Every upkeep from Martin Dang since the 2nd turn of the game. And that is a serious advantage when you're talking about a cheap, low-to-the-ground aggressive deck as your opponent. Ravenous Daggertooth has continued to attack. No good blocks here for Yamamoto, though he will have some next turn most likely.
Martin deciding between using Pious Interdiction on just the Sky March Bloodletter to stem the bleeding there. Doesn't know about the Pirate's Cutlass. Or potentially is sacrificing Priest of the Awakening Sun. He can go search for a dinosaur if he plays his 5th land here.
Both teams having conversations here. 2 cards left in hand for Kentaro Yamamoto. Here's Pious Interdiction. And that's going to stem the bleeding, as you said, Luis, at the Skymarsh Bloodletter. And it's even more life going towards Martin Dang, who has gained, what, 10 life this game, maybe 12?
Yeah, he's gone pretty deep on the life gain.
Yeah.
This also opens the door for just a straight-up Anointed Deacon attack. It can get his hands dirty, too.
Just 5-you, yeah. So that's a nice little attack there from Kentaro.
18.
And there it is, Shining Aerosaur for Kentaro Yamamoto, setting up perhaps the next turn for that Pirate's Cutlass.
18.
He's even found a Legion Conquistador. Curious to see how many of those he ended up running. One? I wonder if that's really what's in his hand.
I suspect that not.
Right.
Though if you need someone to wield a Pirate's Cutlass.
Yeah. It is a warm body, or in this case a cold one, being a vampire, but it'll hold a Cutlass. By the way, there is the Cutlass going on the Skyblade of the Legion.
And combined with Anointed Deacon will again push Skyblade of the Legion past Atsukan Archer. Martin drew Sunbird Invocation, so if you can draw Mountain, play Invocation, next turn play Colossal Dreadmaw, and he can spike something good off that, you know, he could be right back in this. He's got some life to play with thanks to that Priest.
Yeah, he really does. Back up to 15 here for Dang. Has not found that red mana source as of yet. Spike-tailed Ceratops is the play, though. It's not going to do much against the Flyers here. Martin, no attacks this time, as there's some nice big blockers back there for Yamamoto, though he is still thwarted somewhat by that annoying Atsukan Archer, keeping the Shining Aerosaur back. He still has good attacks, but man, he'd love to get rid of that thing and really clear the floodgates for some damage in the air here.
this game is really showcasing the power of Pirates Cutlass, even in a deck with no Pirates.
That's right. Emissary of Sunrise is going to clear a land off the top of the library there for Yamamoto, who's going to play it, and looks like he's going to go for a re-equip here on the first striker.
Yeah, just to keep Martin from getting any attacks in.
Pass the turn back. Reveal, gain 2, go back up to 12, draw a card for the turn. Oh, he can't cast that spine back, can he?
No, he's stuck on 5 mana. If Martin can't survive to get to 8 mana, he can eventually sack the Priest and go find Awakening Sun's Avatar, but I don't think the game's going to get to that point. And a draw of Blightkeeper, I think it's going to push us closer and closer to a tiebreak match here.
Oh boy. Yamamoto's going to move the Pirate's Cutlass here, probably back over to the Skyblade of the Legion. Oop, I was wrong. Shining Aerosaur it is. Well, Martin Dang's going to make the obvious block here, but that still has Yamamoto getting in for 5. And there's that Blightkeeper. Yamamoto's going to want all the lands he can get. One of the other interesting dynamics is that even though Martin Dang has gained a lot of life, that Blightkeeper is a real threat here. Oh, Martin almost forgot that time. I was holding my breath on that one. What did he find, a Drover the Mighty?
Slightly too late, because he can play Drover, and that will enable him to start casting his more expensive spells, or even his off-color spell in the Invocation, but Yamamoto has just stacked up so many ways to deal damage. I think that Martin actually has to chump block the Shining Aerosaur this turn with the Archer, or Blightkeeper plus Aerosaur adds up to the 9 damage that Yamamoto needs.
Yeah, Blightkeeper, a savage annoyance here for Martin Dang at this point. Yamamoto at a cushy 17 life. He is not under any immediate threat from attacks here from Martin Dang, who has to be thinking about, can I make this into a race at this point, as desperation starts to creep in for Team Genesis here. Kentaro Yamamoto looking to force that tiebreak match here between the two teams, and it's starting to look very good for him. Into the red zone. And you can see what's happening here. There's that chump block that you predicted a minute ago, Luis. He still gets in for 3. Did he not have one to reveal, or did he just assume?
I think he just maybe verbally said it.
Okay. I guess he's revealed the same dinosaur enough times that he's got credit for it.
They get the idea.
Yeah. Colossal Dreadmaw. Not doing anything, and that's going to do it. Kentaro Yamamoto wins the match for Team Musashi, and a huge sigh of relief as that half of their team forces a tiebreak. We're going to get more team-sealed limited action here from Boston. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be back after these messages.